Action!
Action!
Okay, let's try action again.
Action!
I will answer that after the break.
Okay, we will cut down for a moment.
I know.
Those jokes now.
And not done. Yes.
Okay.
Right? Okay, let's go. Hi everybody and welcome to the 22nd episode of Knights of the Round Table.
An integer.
Today we are discussing The Knights of Badassdom, which was released in 2013 to a limited limited release, which I think is unfortunate because I quite enjoyed this movie. And it's basically a former D&D player is kidnapped by his LARPing friends after a breakup. And then all hell breaks loose. So I'm going to go with first impressions. Do you want to go first, Matt? Or general impressions?
Well, it's a low-budget film. It's not, Michael Bay directed and that kind of thing. Otherwise, there'd be a lot more explosions and robots.
And the stupid effects.
Yes. Absolutely. My overall impression is this. It's a fairly fun and light movie. It doesn't aim to be more than it is. And in that, it has achieved that mark. It achieved what it meant to hit. But at the same time, the mark wasn't that high. There's points about it that I want to be critical about and points about it that I really enjoyed. But we'll get into that as we go.
I found the movie to be a love story to LARPing and geek culture, and not the usual whitewashed, everything's rosy geek culture references. It had everything, pimples and all. I thought it was amazing.
Sorry, just to interject, I also loved this movie very much. I found it very funny, really heartwarming. I really enjoyed how accurate it was about certain geek personalities. And also, now I just want to go LARPing.
For those that
damn it.
For those that don't know, LARPing is an acronym for live action role playing.
That's true. It's basically Dungeons and Dragons, but without the board. You run around in costume and throw sacks at people going, lightning spell! Lightning spell!
Foam swords, not real swords or anything stupid like that.
Yeah.
Some organizations use cardboard or PVC.
Yeah.
PVC, really? That would sting a bit.
It does.
Wouldn't sting as much as, metal.
As metal, yeah. Which they had, thankfully, in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my general impression. I was laughing from start to finish in this film. I thought it was hilarious, and I really, really, really enjoyed it.
I enjoyed that they didn't dumb it down.
Yes.
A lot of gaming movies or LARPing movies would have gone like, okay, he's the GM. Okay, what does that mean? The GM is the person who runs the game and blah, 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 blah. And they would have over-explained everything. They mentioned the monster manual without explaining that it was part of D&D and so on. So it was something for people who have a baseline knowledge already, and it wasn't weighed down by too many rules.
It's a niche movie.
It is, but it also respects people's intelligence enough that Monster Manual is a book with monsters in it. While a good big Hollywood movie would have been like, it's a manual from this game that does this, and Succubus is like this from Greek mythology.
And the pages are stucketh together.
Yes.
And when they're assessing what that thing was later on, they do reference, well, it could be this, could be this, could be this as well. And if you're familiar with the Monster Manual, you're familiar with what they're referencing.
Yeah.
But they don't explain those references other than the fact that those are clearly similar to this.
Because it wasn't really important for the movie. The movie was a standard hero's journey from the call to action all the way to the end. It was exactly a Campbellian myth, and it was done well. It was cheesy. It was hilarious. But it was what it was supposed to be.
Yeah, there was some spectacular 80s gremlin monster.
It felt like
It felt very
The spiritual successor to the 80s,
Yeah.
the Ghostbusters. And,
But particularly the monster
Yeah.
right at the end, which had me laughing because it was so ridiculous, but it really did put me in mind of the gremlins, basically. It was like a giant frog-faced gremlin with dreads. It's essentially was what this creature was.
What you're saying is if Station Wagon came over the hill with the Ghostbusters came out, it fit right in.
It would fit right in. I mean, the aesthetic was very now, but the monster was very, and the progression and the whole feel-good ending was entirely 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I liked about it.
Yeah, I did. Me too. I did as well. There were so many moments that made me laugh. From the fake castle house.
Yes.
As soon as you walked up the stairs and you see like the guardhouse with the arch over the top, I'm like, I want that house.
My wife said the same thing. She's like, I want the house.
I really want. And you walk in and the kitchen has got like this ridiculously rich wallpaper all over it. It just cracked me up. Yeah.
And they're thrown in front of the big screen TV. It's literally a red velvet chair.
Yeah. The
Thrown.
On the I think it was at the computer, wasn't it? The throne.
Yeah.
Oh god, it was
You
awesome.
see it in passing. It's good moves.
I also like the inclusion of heavy metal.
Yes.
Because that's something that, especially D&D, has been associated with for a long time.
I have a note
Doom
here.
metal.
The music
Yeah,
was
doom
awesome.
metal.
From the metal to the they had uilleann pipes, which is what you would expect for a medieval setting, and then they had the metal. And one of my favorite things is at the opening scene when the guy is singing and his girlfriend comes in, and then there's this really gruff-looking guy at the back, but he talks like he's a valley hipster. He's like, actually that would be doom metal. I was just like, oh my god.
It's Brian Posehn. P-O-S-E-H-N.
Awesome.
Yeah, he was one of the cameos.
Oh, there you go. What was it? What else was he in?
Devil's Reject, the Sarah Silverman project, Fantastic Four.
He was in Fantastic Four?
Yup.
I was gonna say he was in Devil's Rejects.
Oh, well, there you go. He was funny.
Makeup and
I love that he talked like a valley girl.
Yeah.
Like, that would be doom metal. Like, oh my god. And the other thing that cracked me up was the subtitles. When they were talking in the medieval speak and it had like the translation.
in the beginning.
Yes.
Yeah.
About some guy being trapped by a monster, and then it ends with like that bitch in the subtitles. I'm like, oh, you people are awesome. And the
like
butt
that.
tap bonus.
I like how they bring that back later.
Yes.
Someone's like talking in like big speech and they're I have no idea what he's saying.
Yeah. Oh, one line that cracked me up was fine. Kill the brown guy first.
Yeah.
Which is what happened in one of the LARP battles. One of the characters he's a sorcerer too, I think, wasn't he?
I think so. I think he's
so.
like a rogue mage of some sort.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
anyway, in the LARP battle itself, he gets struck down.
The guy with the staff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the guy from Community?
Yeah, Danny Pudi, another cameo.
Yeah, but really, he had a line. Is it a cameo if you have a line? He had a pretty big
several
part.
lines,
Yeah,
yeah.
he had a pretty big part.
Right? Okay.
Yeah.
He got ripped apart.
Yeah.
He was the goriest death.
Yeah, which you didn't see, thank goodness, except the aftermath.
Yes, and I thought that was kind of cool too, where they, I suppose I'll say, much like Japanese anime, they use more guts and more blood than possibly can be contained in the human shell.
Quite possibly.
But that's a standard for horror comedy.
So I want to talk a little bit about the acting, because I thought it was spectacular. The guy who played Gunther cracked me up. Like continual deadpan, just growling all the time. And for those who haven't seen the movie, which I'm going to assume is an awful lot of you, Gunther is a not quite there person who is in character all the time. So even when he's not LARPing, he's Gunther the Barbarian. And yeah, his acting was brilliant. I thought it was very funny. Peter Dinklage. I don't need to say anything else, just Peter Dinklage.
Who was he? Which character was he?
He played Han. Tyrion.
Okay, sorry, the name didn't sound familiar all the time.
The short guy from Game of Thrones.
No. It's just the way she says it. It sounded like Peter D. Lynch, and I was like, "Who's Peter
Peter
D.
D.
Lynch?" D. Lynch.
Have a new name,
Okay.
Mr.
Yes.
English.
One thing that I found interesting, I watched the Comic-Con panel for it, and
Oh, did you?
that role was originally written up for a cast for a 6-foot Asian man.
Well, that explains the name Hung.
I think they were serious.
I thought that was a joke.
I don't know. They were joking about it. They might have been serious.
Well, it explains the
Yeah.
name Hung anyway.
I also thought on the same thing, none of it was choreographed.
Yeah.
So all the sword fighting was done by the actors at the spur of the moment.
Really? Because if that's the case, then someone go out, will you train me?
She said it was very hard because she's used to everything being perfectly choreographed.
Yeah.
It's a side effect from dance, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
But they would actually spar off camera for fun, and Peter Dinklage just kicked everyone's butt.
I couldn't believe that was
when
his
they
two-handed
asked
swords.
him, all he would say is Narnia.
That's awesome.
That makes me happy. That is pretty awesome.
But on the acting, like it is very evident in the movie that the actors that are doing this are having fun when
Yeah,
they're doing this.
it looks like they're having
It's not,
fun.
yeah, I'll do the role. No, they're having fun. You know,
It'd have to be because I don't think they were paid immense amounts for
given
the
this
movie.
release, likely not.
But what was really interesting was that all the extras, everyone you see in the background, is a LARPer from the big society of LARPers. Some people came down for the whole summer to just be in the movie, no payment or anything, just to LARP.
That's pretty
I thought
awesome.
was really awesome.
That is pretty awesome.
So everything is semi-authentic.
Yeah. Speaking of the LARPers, the names of the teams cracked me up.
they're great.
Gnomeland Security. Oh my goodness. I laughed so hard I scared the cats. I didn't actually catch all the names because I was laughing so much.
They were really impressive.
Yeah. Nice puns, guys. Nice puns.
Absolutely.
Well done on the writers.
The casting too, talking a little bit further into that, I'm sure that a few favors were pulled in given the fact that this wasn't hugely released at the time. Maybe they had planned for a bigger release but didn't get it. I'm not sure.
I think when I was reading up on it, it was that they had no idea how to market it, which is usually the case for things that become niche, like the Wizard of Oz was one of those, Princess Bride was one of those.
Fair enough.
They didn't really quite know how to market it, so it got a limited release because, I don't know.
I think
They don't think that
an absolute
viewers-
mundane or muggle or whatever you want to call them that has no idea about fantasy or
LARPing or
or D&D or anything would be lost
yeah,
in
this
this
is true.
movie.
But you have like Peter Dinklage, of course, Summer Glau. Ryan Quanten playing Joe, of course. You have Steve Zahn, who is Éric. Then we're talking about some of the other actors. We already mentioned Danny Pudi from Community, Josh Molina from West Wing, and Brian Polsand from The Devil's Rejects, and then Josh Molini from West Wing, Scandal, and A Few Good Gentlemen. So there are a lot of notable names that were in the movie, in the cast, that were put in there.
And there were a few less notable, like there's one of the guys who played in the TV show Chuck, who was in there, and a few others that were, you'd recognize them if you watch the same geek stuff over and over again.
The guy who played the GM,
Yes.
I recognize him. I know I've seen him elsewhere, but I cannot put...
He was in a lot of horror movies as the villain.
He was good.
He was.
He made a fantastic maniacal GM. It was awesome.
And as for acting goes, what's her name? The succubus, the girl,
Yes.
the girlfriend, and then the succubus did an amazing job to the point where she was way scarier than the monster at the end.
Yes, she was. I found her much scarier than the monster at the end. which
Even
was
though she killed less.
vaguely cute, actually, that monster.
Yeah, you kind of wanted to hug it or sing to it.
Or something.
I also like the treatment of women in the movie. Because normally there's the big stereotype of geek culture hating women in general. Especially costume or LARPing or D&D. Which is a stereotype that exists for a reason. But in this movie, Summer Glau wasn't the useless princess or the
But-
better than everyone girl who's there for no reason.
Well, she was better than everyone,
Yes, she was.
but she was there because of Gunther.
Gunther, which is a really good reason to be there.
Yeah, which is
And
I was
she
just
kicked
like,
ass.
oh, and she kicked
and
ass.
she enjoyed herself.
Yeah.
Often in gaming movies, the girl doesn't enjoy herself.
Yeah.
She's just there because she has to be for some
So
reason.
the girlfriend who then became
Yeah.
the succubus was essentially the stereotype
Yes.
cute girl. of
And
most
as
movies.
she's there with Gunther, instead of being, okay, fine, trudge along.
Exactly. She plays along.
Like
she enjoys it.
Joe, Ryan Quanten's character, was basically that at the beginning.
Dragon
She
kings
turned out to be
screaming.
a very valuable member in the movie, as compared to the stereotypes of women in that not being
Yeah.
the fighters, the warriors, contributing, that kind of thing. Here in this movie, she really came through as being a formidable person.
Yeah.
In the 80s stereotype, she filled both the love interest and the new buddy you pick up right away at the beginning of the movie, which is usually not a girl. But
Yeah.
it's great to see that. And the LARPers, there was a good mixture of handicapped and different colors, different genders, everything.
Yeah, different sexual preferences.
Yeah.
On that
Although that's a horror movie trope also.
sprites, let's fly.
Versus Pixies, disputes over names, even that.
But I mean, like even after she left,
Yes,
all the
yes.
these guys were dressed up as sprites. And
Yes.
Sprites, let's fly, and they all start skipping. That
was
made my
awesome.
night. That was awesome.
And the costumes were
The costumes were beautiful.
again, that was brought, the ones that were in the background were brought by the LARPers themselves.
Yeah, I
So
didn't believe that.
the actors were impressed to the point where some of the costume people were like, that's better than what we do.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah.
See, I really want this on DVD so I can get to the special features because I'm such a
There's a
special
lot
features
of
whore.
them.
I would love to get in on those special features. Damn it. I must commend the writers on this. They had some very funny dialogue. Some of my favorite lines were obviously fine, kill the brown guy first. Also, I'm an apprentice, fucketh you very much. That cracked me up. And also when they were like, verily, get over it, dude. Like, verily, this is retarded. That kind of stuff cracked me up. I will now use verily in front of almost all of my slurs, I think. Verily, you peeps.
There's one thing I prize above all else: honor and
Oh, verily, that is two things.
honor and valor,
Oh,
something like that.
yeah.
It's like, wait, apparently that is two things. Yes.
Those end of movie speeches
It's
are
just-
hilarious. The bouncing.
Yeah.
They were good though.
They were good.
If I had been in that crowd, I would have been like,
Yep.
I wish you didn't have a full max.
I like the announcers for the last battle too. When they
Yes.
announced the dragon, and they're like, and please be careful with the wings, the paper mache has
Still
barely even dried. It's just-
I really like that they didn't gloss over that kind of thing. It
Yeah.
was silly, and it is a little bit of a silly pastime,
it is.
but it's fun.
Yes.
And a lot of things that aren't necessarily serious and academic and cool are fun. Mm-hmm. And
It's
good to
basic.
admit that.
It's make believe for adults. And
Exactly.
Yeah. This is part of the reason I don't have the time or the money to go into LARPing. But
If
honestly,
I wasn't allergic
it
to
seems like
nature,
fun.
I would love it. If we could like get a hall that is self-contained, I'd love that.
So laser tag, basically.
Yeah, build a dungeon inside the CE Center or whatever, Ernst & Young. That would be
That's
really
such
cool.
a good idea.
You can control the weather, you can control everything.
Smoke machines every so often. Oh my.
When we win the lottery.
Well, yeah, exactly. I'd have to win the lottery. Take
Oh,
it
you'll
to
achieve
the center
that.
for like.
Or when someone buys your movie rights. One or the other.
Oh, something like
One thing that I liked was their research was really accurate. Like they made sure that the rules were right, but also the book itself was supposedly written in Enochian, which is supposed to be the language of angels.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I thought was a nice little added touch because they could have said Latin, Sanskrit, any other old dead language.
Yeah.
It
Latin
fit
is
the
not
theme.
dead.
You keep believing that.
You whippersnappers.
Another thing I really liked is after what's his name? The character's name, who played the wizard who summoned the succubus. That guy.
Yeah.
When he's
The wizard, Éric.
Yeah, when he's Éric. Thank you. When he's
Great
introducing
name.
yeah, Joe, asking if Joe can join the crew from the GM, and then the GM's like, fine, for old time's sake, you can join. And then he walks away and he waves his coat dramatically. And the GM is all like, oh, you know, that was a little much. Okay, show off. And then he just does it even more out of spite. This was really funny to me. This whole movie, I was laughing all the way through. I really enjoyed it. Except, well, the ending was uber cheesy. Like, bad, like...
It was very expected.
Yeah, but it was also like really bad early 90s music video cheese.
But to be fair, the actor did sing the song. That was actually
That
his
was
voice.
actually him?
Yes, and the song was written by
Oh, he just got way
the music director guy.
Yeah. I did not
Yeah.
think that was actually his voice.
That was.
Ryan, sir, you can sing.
One thing that shocked me when I watched the panel was his voice, because he's not American.
No, he's Australian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoa, wait a sec. That's
Actually-
not what's supposed to come out of his mouth.
Funny story, the minute I saw him, I'm like, I bet you that guy's Australian. He just looks Australian. There's just something about him that looks Australian.
Australians pull off the scruffy face that looks actually attractive really well. A lot of other guys just can't pull it off.
That's not true.
I just look unshaven.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, at the moment he appeared on screen, I'm like, yeah, there's just, I don't know what it is about Australian guys, but they just look
You have
Australian.
an Aussie radar
Yeah,
thing?
something like that. As soon as I bet he's Australian, so I looked it up and he was like, yeah, Australian. I'm like, yeah. He lives in LA now, though. He did the accent really well.
Yes,
Actor,
yeah. And he does it really well on True Blood too.
Yeah, I heard he was on True Blood. I don't watch True Blood.
The play between the GM, I can't remember the guy's name off the top of my head.
Yeah.
But the GM and the characters was Éric or Joe or whatever. The GM's job is to pose a challenge, make it difficult, they overcome, they get the experience, and the player obviously to overcome the challenges posed too. So there's a bit of a meeting of heads, if
Yeah,
you will,
but-
against each other, and they play on that so well in this movie.
And I liked that the GM redeemed himself at the end.
But the play of the characters wanting something and the GM being like, well, no, you have to work for it, that argument that happened throughout the whole movie is real. That's what happens in
Also,
D&D all the time.
also when the
Yeah.
He was a
GM is
little
like,
bit of a dick.
yeah, you've been struck in the back. And he's like, no, I haven't. Yes, you have, and he clearly hadn't. All right, out of 5. If you were to give this movie out of 5, what would you give it? Éric, let's start.
It's the best the genre could be. So I'm gonna give it a 4. Now I want to go rewatch it.
I do.
I have some picks about it as well, but it's overall it's a fun movie, and it was able to achieve what it set out to achieve. So for me, I'm going to give it a 4 as well.
Yep, exactly the same with me. 4. There were some really cheesy moments, but that was part of the fun of this movie, I think. Also the terrible creature effects, but was also part of the fun of this movie. I could live with the terrible special effects because the rest of the movie was just so fun and funny, and just I really enjoyed it. And it's a shame that it didn't get a wider release. I am definitely adding this to my DVD collection. Okay, so who wants to pick the next movie? Ouch.
Go ahead. Someone else picked the book last week.
I don't want to know what this is. The Last Mimsy, 2007.
Very
I
good.
feel like I've seen this, but I don't remember it.
It's a very good movie.
Is it? Okay. So the
Well-
next movie.
I think it's a good movie.
Okay. So the next movie we will be reviewing is The Last Mimsy, 2007. Next week is a book, the title of which I've already forgotten.
And what is Samarkand?
Thank you, The Amulet of Samarkand from the Peanut Gallery. We'll see you next week if you want to enjoy, oh my god, if you want to join in the conversation, leave a comment down below or follow us on Twitter or Facebook. I'll leave the links in the description. Thank you very much. Bye.
See ya.
This episode of Knights of the Round Table was filmed before a live studio audience of 2.